A while back, I made a video about Disney's live-action movies, about what was going weird with Star Wars and their live-action remakes, but the video intentionally was hyper-focused on intertextuality. Recently, I went back and rewatched Jon Favreau's Lion King, and I think it was probably this moment here that I realized there was something foundationally off about this movie. But it was more than just intertext. It wasn't Donald Glover as Simba. I love Donald Glover. I still don't think he gets enough respect. It wasn't that the songs were poorly performed or recreated. I actually really love this version of Can You Feel the Love Tonight? No, instead I think there were three things in particular, all captured in one particularly hard to watch scene, that define everything wrong with Disney's live action remakes. It starts somewhere simple, with what we hear.
The ever impressive.
The phone contains
often imitated,
but never duplicated. Genie of the Lamp.
When Robin Williams took the role of Genie, it marked a revolution in animation, the moment where celebrities began entering the world of animated voice acting in big ways. But that change was made easy by Williams' absolutely masterful performance. The problem with Disney's live-action movies starts with a disregard for, well, the very thing that made Aladdin special. Close your eyes for just a minute and just listen to this.
It's awful, isn't it?
I didn't want to believe you.
What made you come back?
I finally got some sense knocked into me, and I've got the bump to prove it. Besides, this is my kingdom. If I don't fight for it, who will?
I will.
Okay, now keep them closed and listen to this.
I didn't want to believe you.
So what are you gonna do?
My father once told me to protect everything the light touches. If I don't fight for it, who will?
I will.
It's going to be dangerous.
Danger? Ha! I laugh in the face of danger.
Did that second conversation sound organic to you, or did it sound like two people reading a piece of paper that they are very uninterested in? I love Donald Glover. I actually love Beyonce, enough to say that I'm a fairly big fan of both of these people. But this?
It's going to be dangerous.
Danger? Ha! I laugh in the face of danger.
This is bad. Not because they're not talented, they very much so are, but because the writing leaves them very little room to be better. If you're going to ask us to suspend our disbelief when this thing starts talking, you better make sure we believe it's talking, not acting. You have to bite through the artifice. Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner are excellent, but Nala and Simba are our main characters. We have to believe this.
Your reign is over, Scar. Simba is the rightful king. If you want to get him, you have to get through us. Are you with me, lions?
And yet it's delivered in a way that makes me feel like this isn't that intense of a moment, that if she's not fiercely defending Simba, why should I care? Taking talented people and removing their capacity to show their talent is both a flaw in writing and directing, and yet it's that latter word that brings us to our second problem. If you haven't caught on by now, this is the scene in question, the moment Simba and Nala decide to return to Pride Rock and devise a plan to do so. Throughout the movie up until this scene, Favreau has almost entirely recreated, sometimes shot for shot, the original animated Lion King. We saw the same thing with Beauty and the Beast, with Cinderella, with Aladdin, and then suddenly, as in Lion King, all of these movies, maybe with the exception of Beauty and the Beast, fall victim to the same trap: tone. See, here in the animated movie, our heroes decide Timon and Pumbaa will serve as a distraction so that Nala and Simba can make it to Pride Rock. And this moment happens.
Wow! If you're hungry for a hunk of fat and juicy meat, eat my buddy Pumbaa here because the end's a treat. Coming down a dine, on a Stacy swine, all you have to do is get in line. Ah, yeah! Yup.
In the live-action remake, we get this instead.
Be our
See, Disney clearly wants their writers and directors to stay very true to the original films, to a fault. And yet when you create real lions, you're going to have a challenge recreating the tone of something much more visually fantastical. And that's what happens. Jon Favreau clearly knew that the tone of this movie was a tad off. He knows that as much as they've recreated the plot, they haven't replicated the spirit, and so this moment doesn't quite work. Instead, what we get is this weird, out of place, hey, look, Beauty and the Beast, haha, moment of intertextuality that breaks tone and feels a bit too fourth wallish. Disney's remakes are so focused on recapturing the plot of their predecessors, they fail to understand that by creating these things with real humans, or real animals, that they'll have to better manage the tone of their films. Either go all in on the zaniness of the animated medium or ground the films more realistically. Instead, what we get is this weird middle ground where we recognize these moments, but they don't feel the same. And I think this problem's foundation is the final thing that this scene gets wrong. The third and most obvious thing. What was the thing you heard most about before the Lion King remake released? What was the thing that every interview focused on, that everyone around you talked about? It probably wasn't plot or voice actors, it was probably technology. Disney seems to believe more and more with each film that technology equates to creativity. And to some extent, in general, this is true, but not in film. I could take the greatest camera in the world and become the greatest CG artist of all time, and 2 hours of me cleaning my apartment while ice skating still shouldn't win me an Oscar. The question every filmmaker will tell you is the most important question you can ask while making something is why? Why is your character saying what they're saying? Why is this shot framed the way it is? Why do you need this warthog to look so real? See, the technology on display here is indeed remarkable. It is truly astounding, but it doesn't serve the movie, its script, or its characters at all. It serves no function. There's a clear disconnect between what we hear and what we see, looping nicely back around to the first problem. We know inherently and instinctually that a lion, a meerkat, a baboon, they all can't talk, and the realer you make them look, the harder it is for us to get past that fact. CG works really well when dealing in fantasy or humanity. The Beast in Beauty and the Beast is fine because he's neither human nor recognizably real. A clock, Thanos, it's easy for us to accept their behavior because we aren't associating them with something living or grounded. This trend started with Jungle Book and then found strange middle ground of the genie and finally took root here. This looks wrong, it sounds wrong, it takes me out of the movie while its intent is supposedly to immerse me in it. Realer isn't better when real already exists, and this scene puts that on display particularly well because of its very quiet and stagnant nature. It's easy to take a moment here and wonder why we're looking at what we're looking at. It'd be less of a problem if the movie wasn't trying so hard to recreate almost every moment, but therein lies the real crux of these issues. The argument I always hear in defense of Disney's live-action remakes is that they're not for us, they're for kids. They're meant to introduce a new generation to these worlds and characters. And yet, I watch scenes like this one, and I know two things. One, that's not true. Disney wouldn't be painstakingly mistreating the exact same source material if they didn't want 20-somethings like me to nostalgically fawn all over their films. They'd be taking true creative liberties, creating something new for that new generation instead. And two, if this is a generation's introduction to these worlds, why isn't Disney treating them with the same respect? There's something off when I can recognize the lack of care. Disney's pursuit is not a new audience, it's surefire success in a less than stable modern theatrical market. The technological progress here is simply an excuse to make this film. Beyoncé is just a way to get people like me excited for the music, and underneath it all, buried somewhere, is the soul of what these movies used to be. I just wish it wasn't so hard to dig all of that back up.
Wow! If you're hungry for a hunk of fat and juicy meat, eat my buddy Pumba here because he has a treat. Coming down a dine, on a Stacy's swine, all you have to do is get in line. Ah, you ain't good. Yup.
Normally you wouldn't see me here, but I want to talk to you about something. Obviously, I mentioned at the beginning that I am finally making this feature, Reset. The Kickstarter is in a link down below. It's a near future science fiction movie about, well, kind of my generation, the generation before, the generation after. I mean, it's something we're really excited about. The concept is something we're really excited about. There's some concept art I'll throw up I guess right here, the poster. We have some amazing people working on it, like Yoshi Vu, who worked on Star Wars Episode 9, Game of Thrones, is working on The Mandalorian. Just some incredible people I'm really excited to tell you guys more about. But I do need your help. We're actually trying to maintain control over this film. Instead of going the studio route, we're going to kickstart it so that I can maintain control as a writer and director all the way throughout. Get final script, final cut, the whole 9 yards. So the Kickstarter with a bunch of amazing tiers and rewards is live. It's in the description and the pinned comment down below. All I ask you to do is go check it out. Maybe you'll find something you like. We're including a bunch of limited tiers. Also, there's a ton of stuff related to Nerdstalgic there. So yeah, go check the Kickstarter out. And as I've kind of been saying, hopefully I'll see you guys in the movies.